Hi, this is a little tutorial about shapes that are easy and not so easy to print on the 3D printers at school. So firstly, I've got a little bunch of shapes here so I can show you the first thing because, sorry about my phone, the first thing I want to explain is actually the hardest to explain, and what that is the printer prints by laying down layer by layer. Now, every single layer the printer prints needs something to print onto. It can't just print into midair. So say I wanted to print a shape that was like this up in the air, that wouldn't work. It needs something to print on. Say I wanted to print, now let me see if this will work. If I wanted to print a shape like that, even though it is sitting on the bottom, oops, wherever that is, it also won't work. Well, this particular shape it kind of will, but I'll explain to you why. It won't work because firstly it hasn't got a flat enough base to stick to the glass to give it a good solid foundation to build on. But hang on, where's that thing? If I was to drop it down ever so slightly from the floor, and probably about that much, and chop the bottom off, and you do that in this program, you do that just by combining, I've just made that cube a hole, and I'll see if I can move it. Oh dear, it's hard to move when I'm side on like this. I won't do that now. But you just overlap the hole and the shape, and then when you group them, the hole will chop off, so that would chop off that bit that's under the floor there of the cone. And then I would be left with a flat bottom on the cone, which would stick to the glass. So this shape then would probably print. Now, what I mean by an overhang is, see how this is an angle coming outwards, whereas that orange one, that the sides go straight upwards. That one would print easy peasy, no worries. This one here, you have to be really careful with this angle here. If it was any shallower, just a second, then it might not print. I wonder if I can adjust. Oh, I can't really. I sort of can. Oh, okay, I can adjust this shape to show you. Okay, that shape probably wouldn't print because this amount of overhang is just slightly, actually that is only just doable. Any steeper than that and it just won't print. For example, what's a nice simple shape I can make really quickly to show you? Just a minute. Okay, so for no sensible reason, I've decided I needed to print this shape here, which is a small narrow stick on the bottom and a wide bit on the top. Now this won't print, and that is because this overhang is just way too flat. The printer will print fine up to here, but suddenly it has nothing to print onto. Whereas if I was to use the cone shape that I made previously, let me see if I can cunningly, oops, I'm using the arrow keys, I can add that to my structure. Okay, this shape on the other hand would print, but only just. It wouldn't print if I made that edge any shallower, like if that slope gets too steep, the opposite of steep, too shallow, that won't work. But if it was a slope like that, that will work. But you want it as steep as possible to be on the safe side. Okay, now moving on to the sphere. A sphere is quite fun to print, but of course the slope changes as you go around it. Up here, that slope will print fine. That slope will maybe print fine. Anything down this end of it won't print fine. The slope is too shallow. If you wanted to do a sphere, you'd have to chop the bottom off and start about this high up the sides to ensure that the sides print properly. Okay, same with this shape here. Oh, get out of it. Click. I can't make that go away. Okay. The bottom of this, whatever you call donut shape, is also slightly too steep to print, so you'd need to trim the bottom off it to make it flat. Now, what else have I got to show you? Oh, okay, so this is one I printed, and most of it worked fine. Like the bottom of the cube, notice I cunningly overlapped it a bit, so that the very bottom of this not cube, the sphere wasn't a problem. The problem on this shape was the wings. Down here they printed fine. When it got up to here, this was too much of an overhang for it to handle, and it mucked up. So to fix that, I would have needed to angle the wings somehow lower so that that was a steeper angle, but then I would have had a bit of a problem at the bottom. Actually, is this the one that I printed? This one here, it looks to me like the bottom of the wings would have had a problem as well. I think I actually shrunk these wings so they were, so the shape, the body of the shape covered them out to about there. Anyway, hard to explain on the screen, but before you print your shapes, I can have a look at them and tell you if I think you need to change them slightly. What else? Okay, so that was all about overhangs. This one here is a different issue, things that are too intricate. This size here, it's about 20 centimeters long. This one did print okay, but any smaller than that, and this detailed, fine detailed stuff seems to upset the printer. So you just have to be careful. Like, for example, if you wanted to put writing in your shape and it was quite small, it may not work very well. The machine doesn't handle super fine stuff. This one here, another overhang one. I wanted, this was a door stopper with a wave shape on it. This here is an overhang, won't print unless, and you can use this trick if you need to because it's just so easy to do, unless I lay it flat on its side like that. Remember, a 90-degree angle is a quarter turn, 90 degrees, and then I'd have to drop it back down so it's sitting flat on the floor because it's up in the air. But that would work because every part of that shape has something underneath it to print onto. What else have we got? Oh, this one here, a plant pot that's designed to hang on a narrow railing of a fence, and then it's got these things to push it out from the fence so it doesn't sort of mold and go damp behind it and make the wood of the fence rot. Wouldn't print this, wouldn't print this way up because it has no solid base to stick to. So this one here I had to print upside down, and let me just do that, because this one here did print fine from that point of view. 180, come on, there. Did print fine, but the problem with this one was the size. It got just a bit too big and it upset the printer. So as well as the overhang thing and the intricacy thing, you have to be careful of your size. When I made this one smaller, it printed beautifully, but any bigger than that and it didn't, which was a problem because it's not much soil space inside there for any decent sized plants. What else have we got? Oh, same again, leaning on its back thing. Oh, okay, this one's about using more than one color. The printer can only print in one color. So when I wanted to put letters in this, I had to print them separately. So this I had to copy and paste these into a whole new document and then print them in a different color and then glue them in. The problem with that, which also didn't really work very well, was the size of the letters. It needed to be slightly smaller than the size of the holes, and at the moment they're exact same size, and because of the narrow tolerance they wouldn't fit in. So then I shrank the letters smaller to make them fit in the slots, but that didn't work either, because see how inside some of the letters there is a shape like that, for example. When I shrank that letter to put it in the hole, it also shrank the space for that sticky up bit to fit into, and so that stopped it fitting. So basically, either just make holes like this in your thing and leave it at that, or if you're going to glue letters onto it, just glue them onto the surface. Don't try and slot them in. It's just you can do it, but it's a lot trickier. Any two-color print jobs, you want to make two separate print jobs and then glue them together afterwards. You can also slot things together nicely, like for example a container with a lid, but again, if you make the lid the exact same size, it's very likely not to fit. The machines aren't accurate enough that if things should fit that they will. You always have to leave like a bit of a millimeters gap to make it fit on, to make the lid fit on, or to make a shape slot into another shape. You have to make sure that there's a decent sized gap for it to go in. Then of course it's usually too loose and then it's a pain, but you can think about that when you design things, how best to manage it. What else have we got? Oh, this one was a really cool idea by a student for a phone holder with spaces for the cables. This one has overhangs, like for example, if you look inside that like that piece of the roof, this bit's hollow, that piece of the ceiling won't print because it's got nothing to print onto. But with this shape here, you can lie it on its back and print it. For this part of the shape, I printed it lying on its back. Unfortunately, for the top of the shape, this part up here, when I lay that down on its side, I'll see if, I can't really, can't do it in the program. Oh, sort of. Okay, so imagine I just laid that down on its side like that. Then I have the overhang in here. So I actually had to print it in two parts and then glue it together at the end. That also solved the third problem, which is the size of it. This was way too big to print successfully, so in the end I had to print it in 3 separate sections to make them each one small enough. The other problem with this one is the walls are very thick, that wall there particularly, and that's a huge waste of plastic. If you've got walls inside your shape or on the outsides of your shape like that, make them much thinner. 1 millimeter works fine on our machine. You don't need anything this thick. What else have we got? Oh, okay, so this one ignore that one. I've copied it somewhere else. Oh, this one, people were making people shapes. I'm not sure what program they were using. It probably wasn't Tinkercad because they're very intricate shapes. Now, they have overhangs. For example, the chin of their person, the way they've got around the fact, because the chin kind of sticks out at a flat angle, horizontal, normally in a normal person, and that won't print. So the way they've got around it is having their head tilted back a bit so there's a nice shallow steep curve so that would print. The other way, now I think further down they've showed how they did some other tricks to make sure the chin would print. They've stuck some hair on it to support it. They've stuck a katana on it to support it. With the foot, the toe is an overhang. You can get away with a tiny overhang, like 1 or 2 millimeters the machine might print. Any more than that it won't. So that's how you can have letters indented, but they have to be quite shallow. Anyway, so this one here, that didn't print when it was fully flat, but they've slightly angled it, and they reckon the steeper the angle of the toe there, the more likely it was to print. And they've given, this is their example on this website, that arm won't print because it sticks out. They suggested you put some shapes into your shape that somehow support the arm if you want to have an arm sticking out. Or the other way is to print the whole person on the side. The problem with that is it hasn't got a very sturdy, stable, well, it's got none pretty much, surface at the bottom to stick to the glass. So that for us wouldn't work on our printer. And I think that's all that dude's got. Somewhere I made a little summary. Things that won't print: large overhangs, steep overhangs, intricate shapes, larger items. I'd say go for 10 centimeters and less for all of the dimensions of your shape: X, Y, and Z, horizontal, vertical, and depth. That other website I was looking at came up with this, just used this fancy way of describing snap and push fits. That's when things click together with tight tolerances. Really hard to get them accurate enough to click together. Also, don't waste plastic. Keep your walls thin and your size small, and try to print things that are useful. And I'm sure your brain is full by now. Enjoy your printing.